Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. This is Jordin James. Got my co-host, my life partner here with me, Joseph Hurtnagel.
Yes, everyone. Welcome. We are going to share some ancient information with you. This is a study I've been focusing on, and I call it the sacred masculine. And we'll be dipping our toes into the divine feminine as well. Ayo.
Ayo.
So, if you want to learn some real polarity shit that'll rocket your relationship
rocket.
It'll rocket your rocket right into the stratosphere. Stay tuned.
This is good stuff, you guys.
All right.
Here we fucking are, huh?
Hey, everybody. This
Hi.
is the first time you'll probably ever have seen us in person.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Here we are. We're doing videos now, so if you're watching or listening to this on audio, check out our YouTube channel.
Hell yeah. We're in the tropics.
Yep. That's not a green screen.
It's not. It's the tropics. It's pretty
It's the
sunny here.
tropics.
Yeah, that's why you have a blanket on.
Yeah, that's why I have a blankie. This is my emotional support blankie, by the way. I have it on me during every podcast.
She really does. Yeah, it's one of the team members.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
This is the Heart is a Muscle podcast, right?
It is.
Just wanted to check.
Yep.
So today we are going to talk about some magic I've been working on.
Ooh, it's good shit, you guys.
And this is all around my study of masculinity and how it can be a really useful thing and almost a kind of a necessary, needed thing for many men and masculine beings out there who are just lost and confused or stuck. Mm-hmm. There's so much stuckness out there, and it's a bummer. I've been there. I've been hella stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit of a stuck rut there for a few days this week, and it's just the fucking worst.
Yeah.
We were reflecting on that, how when you actually can have, I don't know, conscious gratitude for how good things are, then you're just like, oh man, I don't ever want to go back to feeling
shitty. Yeah. Jinx.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been working on this study called the sacred masculine. That's my trademark for it, and it's turning out to be a fairly simple premise, but I think that's what makes it really powerful, that it's not some 20-point system. The basis of it is what I call the sacred masculine oaths.
Tell us more about them.
Thank you, Jordan. I will. And what these oaths are, I think what I would summarize as the most critical guideposts for masculine beings to reflect upon and compare and contrast what is going on in their life so that they can identify whether things are going well, whether things need to change, what that change is. They're basically, I like to call it a promise you keep to yourself. I promise to stay conscious in this like train of thought or this mindful state. So that's why I thought oaths was an appropriate title for them. And it kind of just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it also speaks to the ancientness of sacred masculinity too.
Yeah, this is some of the like most profound masculine experiences I've had have been ones where we've literally shifted into our fourth dimensional selves way back in the ancient past. Like we've probably talked about this story once or twice, but there was an evening many years ago where
An evening encounter,
yeah. We had ingested some spiritual medicine, and we were able to like transfer ourselves into this ancient past where we were like these two like barely humanoid humans.
Like cave people.
Like
almost.
cave people.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the concept of love, but we felt like the connection that would become love eventually. We couldn't like speak to each other.
Yeah.
We just like sent energy and emotion back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't like, there was no concept to even comprehend or explain how we were feeling.
And it was this real polar connection of just, I was this masculine being that was there to fulfill that masculine role and give that masculine energy. And you were this just like perfect feminine creature. And I was just like, yeah, I need one of those.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep you around. You do something I can't.
That's right.
So, yes, the sacred masculine, part of the reason why I think sacred has kind of been this word that keeps popping up in my head too, is paying homage to the ancestry of, masculine energy. All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, this is so juicy. This is only like the beginning, the very tippity top of the iceberg of this.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. So, do you want to talk about the 5 sacred oaths and what they are? Or is there anything else you want to say before that?
Well, there is one other topic on this that I'll mention, because the polar energy I'm focusing on is masculine, but of course there's the equal and opposite feminine. And as I was identifying these oaths, these kind of traits that really kind of are fundamental to a powerful masculine being, I was like, I wonder if there's equal and opposite traits on the feminine side. And so I kind of started to put my thought into that, and I actually came up with some what I call divine feminine oaths.
And they're equally as good.
Yeah, serve a very similar role, and they really create this equal and opposite like magnetic push and pull with the sacred masculine oaths. They're really connected, and it took a little while to kind of find exactly the right words for it. It's sometimes hard to kind of get the wordage right, because the feeling of what it is and the thing that it is.
Yeah. Words are just fingers pointing to the moon.
Yeah.
They're never the moon itself.
Oh, man, that old moon.
Yeah.
She's probably like right there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we'll talk about the sacred masculine oaths, because that's kind of the topic of the night. But we're also going to dip into the divine feminine oaths.
Ayo.
Because that's kind of the one part of the sacred masculine that I think will be a very appealing effect, is the ability to like create that polar magnetic connection.
Yeah,
so
that's how you get sex.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking with my coach, and he's like, "What's the currency you get in this one?" And I was like, "Well, it helps you get laid."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, let's try and think of something else."
Oh, what? Really?
Nah, he didn't say that, but it was a little bit kind of like, "Okay, yeah, that's it's pretty straightforward. Let's keep thinking."
I mean,
but it's real true. How would you explain how powerful being in the presence of a deeply rooted masculine being does for your feminine?
Oh man. I don't know how to like put it into words.
Yeah.
It's such a melty feeling. And like, it's a feeling of like all my parts who've been trying to like hold my shit together are just like, oh, thank God. Like, oh, we can take a break for a second. We don't have to like hold all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the laptop is slowly sliding off. Good thing you all of you at home are probably like, what's going on?
We should put some gum right there.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. We'll wedge something in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep an eye on it.
Sacred masculine oaths. Here, we'll wedge that in there. Yeah, it's not going to work.
Better not.
Better not. Experimentation, everybody. Sometimes it's not perfect, but it is fun.
Yeah, but it's enough.
So, out of the main event, the Sacred Masculine Oath. There's 5 of them, and I will count them off. The first one is the Oath to Freedom. The second is the Oath to Service. The third is the Oath to Comradery. The fourth is the Oath to Lethality. And the fifth and final one is the Oath to Challenge. Huzzah.
Man.
Yeah, well, how does that make you feel?
Well, okay, I was paying attention, but I was also paying attention to how sexy you look in that camera. Look at you. Oh, that's so fun to watch.
I know, we've got a full belly from dinner, so.
Yeah. My blanket's covering
Yeah.
Anyway.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah. I love the one lethality. Like, I love them all, but when you say lethality, I'm just like, oh yeah, yeah. But also challenge. Yeah, I don't know. I like them all. Do you want to dive into like what they actually mean? You know, like how you define them?
We will. As soon as we stop the laptop from falling off the thing there.
A few moments later.
All right, back to our main event here.
Back to our main event. Nothing to see here.
So, Sacred Masculine Oaths. Freedom, service, camaraderie, lethality, and challenge.
Boom.
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 And so, you may ask yourself, great, so what? What's the big deal? Let's kind of go through each of them and talk about why they're important and how you can use them as a frame of reference to make conscious choices about what stays and what goes.
Yes. Get ready for your minds to be blown, folks.
Yeah, because these are things that ensure you are consciously making choices about your life. That's kind of the main point.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about freedom. Now, freedom, it can come in many flavors, and it doesn't have to be kind of seen as a free ticket to be, promiscuous or to be, I don't know, kind of irresponsible or, other things that could be kind of, you're just free to do whatever. No.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of freedom that refers more to you being a sovereign being like an individual.
Yeah.
Because part of the presence and like power of a masculine being is that they are the points. They are the like individuals in like the group. They are where angles intersect.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of more masculine geometry that's edges and lines. That's like important to be that sovereign individual. Even if you're part of a bigger community, having that assurance of being your own person, being free to do what is most meaningful to you, which can mean a lot of different things. That's where freedom is such a useful point of reference. Like, for instance, I find a lot of freedom in being disciplined about what I have to do, because then shit gets done, you create good habits, and then you get to see the results of your habits. So you're freeing yourself to progress in life by setting high standards for yourself, by, being dedicated to things. It's one of those things that's not directly so associated. We're like, oh yeah, that feels like I'm really restricting myself. And there's there's always a give and a take. There's always a polar aspect of it too, because sometimes you do have to sacrifice things, but the conviction creates that freedom. It's the, discipline. I think it's actually a saying of like, discipline will set you free.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've heard of that, haven't you?
Discipline equals freedom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And discipline can also be a type of, or not discipline, but freedom can be another type of commitment almost, because while there's definitely a time and a place, and maybe that's your entire life, to have true freedom to kind of roam and do what you want, spread your wild oats. Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you do it consciously because it enriches your life. Mm-hmm. It's something that you choose to do, and not just, I don't have anything better going on, I'll just go fuck around.
Or I'm afraid of commitment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's also the freedom you get from being committed to someone, because then you have the security of having this deep connection with someone, having companionship, let's not lie, having consistent place to have sex. I guess not place, but
wow,
human.
I'm just a consistent place to have sex.
Yeah, a human to have sex with.
A human. You flatter me.
I know. I'm doing my best. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's a really freeing thing, because even if you've got great game and all that kind of stuff, life can get lonely, and that can be kind of its own trap. And there's a lot of guys who struggle against that feeling of like, well, I'm supposed to be like this lone soldier and be by myself and not commit to anything, but I am just crippled by loneliness, and it just makes me sour and resentful. Like, that doesn't allow you to be free. Like, you're in this prison you've created. Are we still sliding? I guess I should have flipped that thing over so that the little edge that has got the lip on it. Oh, well. Nice. I ain't going nowhere now.
Try that out. I was an engineer.
All right, let's move on.
Hold on. I have a question that I want to ask about freedom.
Sure.
What are the most common ways women take away the freedom of men? Or
this is a great question.
Yeah. I didn't ask that perfectly, but let's talk about the divine feminine oath that is the counterpart to freedom, which is surrender. What do you think about that? I thought it was safety.
Oh, that's lethality.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And
yeah. I remember that now.
Oh, you don't like that one.
God, surrender. It's so hard. So vulnerable.
Yeah, because that's kind of the, this doesn't sound very good, but it's kind of the trade-off for being able to be in that masculine presence, is to not have to merge with it.
Yeah.
To allow it to stay its separate thing, even like when the connection and the emotional attachment is like your one thing. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, surrender is not just that, it's like the power of surrender too.
Yeah.
That's, for me, the divine feminine has that ability to know when to flow. Yes. And not to resist or try to swim upstream.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed a lot about masculine energy, is it doesn't necessarily have that same discernment of like when it's more enriching to surrender, like when he's going to get farther if he surrenders versus if it's a challenge he needs to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's one of those things where, and this is where the language is sometimes kind of hard, because polarity lives within all of us as well. We all have a masculine and a feminine energy that it makes up kind of part of our inner universe.
Yep.
Obviously, it tends towards kind of a major one and then a minor one. So for me, it's mostly masculine with probably a very small feminine, because there's a lot of times I get hung up in my masculine and need your assistance to like remind me of like a feminine step that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Which-
Although that's like kind of tenuous ground, because your parts don't like to hear the feminine
They
advice.
sure don't. Yeah, no, they sure don't.
When
And
they're in
that's
it.
I'm not I'm not alone in that.
Even though it's the fucking right thing.
Yeah,
That's
it
all
is
I'm
a lot of
saying.
time. And this comes back to why surrender is such a powerful thing, because a lot of the times when the masculine receives that feminine feedback that they need to tap into, that's one of the first like feminine energies that they need to do to like receive it, is you have to surrender to like the truth of it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's another one of the powers of like being in a polar relationship, that you not only do you attract each other, but you also share your major energies.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, from the feminine standpoint too, starting with surrender, and that being the way that we navigate forward through life usually, and navigate circumstances. Like there does come a time when we need to learn how to set boundaries for our freedom. And take our freedom and our sovereignty seriously.
Yeah.
And not just like stay in the loop of surrendering, but never like going somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's a part of that's the feminine side of that journey.
Yeah. See how fun this is? It's like a weird puzzle.
So fun.
All right, ready to move on to the next one? So the next one is service. Now,
My favorite.
yeah, it is actually. It's one of the things that can be a really useful and powerful tool in relationship, is the masculine's, what do I want to say this? Tendency is kind of a lame word, but the masculine's expression of wanting to make things better, wanting to improve things, wanting to provide, wanting to help, wanting to like promote, all of these things that like are the penetrative force of masculine energy. A lot of them get expressed through service. Some like classic example. Why do men go to war? What's the like romance of war all about? Part of it is that like ultimate fulfillment of my ability to serve, and like that's glorious. It's this glorious thing. Why do men become cops, firefighters? Why do we like put ourselves in danger's way to our own harm and detriment? Why is there like crazy jobs? Well, it's our natural tendency to want to make the world better. And this one also has boundaries on it too, where, if you're serving out of a place of codependency or a need for recognition or something like that, you can get kind of trapped, where that becomes who you are as this like service person.
It gets in the way of your freedom.
It gets in the way of your freedom. Yeah, this is the thing. Like these oaths, they're not just, I'm going to pick this one and focus on this one. No, they all reflect off of each other, and they all promote each other. And that's why it's so helpful to have this pantheon of them, because one of them, perhaps, you may be unaware that you are not keeping it. And when you can reflect that against the other oaths and say, oh no, like I'm not free, or I'm in conflict with one of these other oaths, then you can have that awareness of maybe I'm actually not living up to the oath I think I am. And so, service, it's a lot of the one that I lean on to try and help men find what their purpose is. Like, what is the thing that you really provide. You know, a lot of the times, and this is the thing too, is a lot of the times we're given this crazy idea that we have to be this like explosive person or like this crazy huge personality to have a great life. Honestly,
narcissism, by the way, in our culture. Yeah.
you can do all of these oaths and have a very simple, easy, fun life. It doesn't have to be complex. It may not be huge and grandiose, but honestly, like, that's not for everyone anyways.
It'll be fulfilling.
Yeah. Wherever you want to be on the spectrum of life, this can apply. Like, one of the ways you can really be a pillar of service is to be a good father. You know?
Big time.
Big time.
Take it from a daughter.
Yeah, who didn't have a good father.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Another great one, this is one we always exercise, is just to be a really awesome partner.
Yeah. Okay, and like women, feminine creatures with masculine creatures. Did you know that when the two of you are walking together and you come to a door, you can just stand there and wait and they will open it for you?
Yeah. Yeah,
it feels so good.
It's one of those things that it's not this. Chivalry is always kind of the medieval term that we legacied in of these acts that you do, which are usually acts of service, in a lot of ways. But they're also just kind of natural tendencies that like penetrative force of, yeah, I'm going to open the fucking door for you. Here it is. Let me open it for you.
Yeah, like what I used to do, I used to like. Unconsciously race him to the door and open it.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I didn't even realize I did it. And so when I was consciously like, oh, I'm going to let him open the door for me, it was so hard to like interrupt those parts because they were like, this is not efficient. Like, this can't be right. But God damn, now that we've been doing that for a long time now, oh, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Trust me, efficiency is usually not the most efficient way to be happy.
Yeah, efficiency is like a polarity killer.
Yeah. So, as you've kind of alluded, the divine feminine oath that goes with this is reception. Yeah. The ability to be open and receive the universe, all the good stuff. To just let the universe flow through you and like come to you. That's the masculine has penetrative energy that goes out into the universe to seek new territory. The feminine like has this well through her that like brings the universe through her. That's like staying open to service. And yeah, it's one of those things that when you're in your mind, and especially in your like left brain mind, that's like, this is not efficient, but you're like, your feminine energy is just like, oh man, this is like the fucking best thing ever.
Yes. Yeah. And like my parts are like, oh man, are there people gonna judge me for like, waiting until he opens the door? I'm like, I don't care. It makes me feel like a fucking queen, actually. So
yeah, and they will judge you,
and they will, and I don't care.
Fine.
But like, I don't know. They should try it for themselves. It's really awesome.
Yeah. So service and reception. Stay open, ladies. Honestly, you'll be surprised what comes floating in.
Yeah.
But also, make sure you only let in the good stuff. Don't be open to that bad bullshit. And likewise, the divine feminine oaths, they all bounce off of each other and all this kind of stuff. So they need to be in coalition and flow together. Yeah. Some of this stuff.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's move on to the third one. Anything you want to say about service?
There's something that comes to mind about I could imagine there are a lot of times where service and freedom kind of butt heads. Or like
Yeah.
where a partner communicates something that you can do to serve them, but it sounds like a demand, which like makes service not that fun because like you're not that free. You don't feel that sense of sovereignty and freedom.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the discussion happens because on like a positive side of that, maybe service is the thing that makes you feel free in life because that's what brings you the most joy. Like you'd feel if you weren't serving, you'd feel lost. You'd feel like you were in prison. Like you feel more free by going out there and doing whatever you do. I mean, you could be a baker who just loves to fucking make pastries and cookies and all that shit and sell it and make people happy. And if you didn't have that, you wouldn't feel free. You know, but that's a total act of service. You're utilizing your skills to create like something valuable for somebody else and like change the world. You know, if you're a baker, you're making sweets, so you're probably making people sick, but JK.
I'll
Bakers
stop
are
by your
awesome.
bakery.
Yeah. All right. Ready to move on?
Yes.
So,
what's the third one?
The third one is camaraderie. And this one has a really interesting divine feminine as well, which is equality. Now, camaraderie to me is being an important part of something bigger than yourself.
Oh, that's such a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
And there's a lot of pretty straightforward camaraderie situations too. I mean, men usually band together and they band together when they have similar likes or similar talents or similar points of view, and you create these packs. I mean, tribalism is such a natural thing with the masculine, and it's part of that camaraderie to be part of a bigger group and be an important part of that. And the thing that is really the power of camaraderie is, especially for the masculine, is kind of a checks and balance of showing up and being important, but also being held accountable to and being able to have responsibility and fulfill that responsibility, because that's how you keep trust in the group, you know? So it's one of those things that, I don't have a lot of male friends, but the ones that I do, like, I want to be honest with them. I want to make sure I have trust with them. And, when they ask me to do something or I ask them to do something, we like expect us to live up to what we agreed to. It's kind of your word. People talk about, for men, like, our word is a really important thing. And that comes from camaraderie of, I want my word to be a meaningful thing so that you can trust me. And likewise, that I can trust you.
Yes.
The downside of this, though, is that, like we were talking about with tribes, it can get very tribal and can get very competitive and can get kind of fractured because, if there's two very camaraderous groups that don't see eye to eye, like that can be, that's where war kind of brews from. So the feminine, divine feminine oath of equality is the balancing force for that. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I want you to explain what you mean by equality first.
So, yeah, it's basically wanting to have the group be, I don't know how you kind of say it, but like self-sustaining and self-growing. It's kind of to make sure that everyone has what they need in equal proportion. And to make sure that there's fairness and justice. It's kind of where that comes from. I mean, that's why, to me, the scales of justice and lady justice is that feminine force. The equality is where, like, the truth of the weight of the scales comes from.
Yeah.
It's the logic that the masculine left side of the brain can line up in front of that still has to when we make a true decision about something, a true judgment, it's an emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're not a computer. We can act like computers, but in the end, it comes down to that choice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the way that those two balance each other out is the feminine need for equality is what helps check that tribalism and tempers it so that the group can be prosperous, as well as you have this very tight-knit group with the masculine need from camaraderie. So it just creates a more healthy society where you can have equality be an important focus, but also the union of community, all that kind of good stuff.
Yep.
So anything else you want to say about that
I don't
one?
know. I think you put that pretty perfectly.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
It's so easy to get this right when you're out in the tropics here.
I know.
On the beach.
I love being in the tropics.
Yeah. The waves are pretty calm today, so
Yeah.
so is the wind. Okay, we'll move on to the fourth one, which this is a very interesting one, and it is called lethality.
Ooh.
And lethality is... This was probably the last one I really discovered the importance of it. It's basically the ability to vanquish what needs vanquishing, to take care of what needs taken care of. Because the world, as much as we try to make it a calm and harmonious place, is chaos. And there's kind of a couple aspects to lethality that I think is important. There's the literal interpretation of it, where we are these physical beings that are strong, powerful, full of adrenaline, able to act and do martial sports and fight and all this kind of stuff, to basically be the ones that will go out and fucking face the boogeyman and know how to do it and survive. And then there's kind of I guess you could say the little bit softer side of that is the ability to be really skilled at something, where, say you're a doctor. Well, when we need to vanquish disease or someone has a broken bone, that is where that masterful skill comes in power, and that makes you a very lethal. The term I hear a lot is high value male.
High value male. That's what they're saying.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Oh my god.
I'm sure. But yeah, it gives you that ability to be a really effective force, and it makes you a good comrade to be around because you're a great resource. It allows you to serve your community, and it usually gives you a sense of freedom that you have this skill, this master of skill. I mean, when I do bodybuilding and get a huge pump and just look at myself, it's man, I fucking am nailing this. This feels awesome. And whatever skill it is, whether you're a carpenter or you're a writer or you're a dude who can do backflips on a dirt bike,
Whatever you're putting those 10,000 hours into.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of the times we don't have anything that we're trying to master. We're kind of just generalists now. And it's just I can use Excel, I can use Word, and I can.
Yeah, that's so right.
I can use ChatGPT. That we get really disconnected, and so always having something. This is where the idea that men always have a hobby, I think, is a real true testament, because whatever that hobby is something we're putting time into to be really good at it. Maybe it's just being awesome at doing puzzles.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I fucking love puzzles.
And this one is a very, very important thing as well, too, because this is a huge dynamic with masculine, feminine polarity, the divine feminine oath to safety, which is man, if you don't know what's going wrong in your relationship, or you don't know why this girl won't talk to you or whatever, Start with safety.
Start with safety. It's the biggest one. Yes.
Yeah, because
and like physical safety, yes, of course, but like I also want people to think about this in terms of emotional safety too.
oh yeah. And that brings up a really good point too with lethality, that there also comes with big responsibility to use that lethality in a meaningful way and not to become a tyrant about it.
Yes.
Because that's the fucking worst. And that really, when you become a tyrant and you must rely on force to keep things in line, you create such a prison around yourself and you don't even know it.
Yeah, you limit your freedom.
Because what
In the
happens
name
to
of
all
freedom.
tyrants? They become insanely paranoid.
Yeah.
And then they die of a stroke. Because they're so stressed out, because you're in this constant prison of like suspicion and fear, and you always have to be on your guard. You always have to be so like fucking ready to go all the time. It's the worst.
Hard pass. That's what it feels like when you lie a lot too.
Oh yeah, that's very same feeling.
Yeah,
it fucking sucks. Versus, what's one of the things we always hear about people who do like jujitsu or judo or something like that? Everyone was like, that's the most chill guy I've ever met. And like, he's just this great guy who loves doing this fucking sports, really good at it. And like, if it came to a scrap, I know he'd be able to handle himself. And it's like, yeah, that's that responsible, like, yes, I know I could rip you to pieces, but I won't. And it's that, I think the real important part of it is when you do learn to do something lethal, especially something physically lethal, you get perspective on how precious life is.
Yeah.
And how easily it can be broken or lost. When I did a lot of firearms training and was shooting all the time, it was such an apparent thing of like, yeah, I need to be extra safe with all this kind of shit, because one wrong move and someone's getting fucked up or getting killed.
Yeah.
And so being really good at that, and especially being really good at the discipline of it, it made me more free, because it made me more comfortable. It made me a better comrade. People could trust me. And I feel like if I was ever in a firefight, I have a very good chance of walking away from it.
Yeah. What this conversation reminds me of is in Narnia, at the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when Aslan is walking away and Lucy's talking with Mr. Tumnus, and she said something about like, is he safe? And Mr. Tumnus was like, oh, he's a wild lion, like he's not a tame lion, but he is good. Yeah, and I was like, ooh, that's it. That's it right there.
And that's part of that surrender to, like, a tame man is fucking the worst.
A tamed woman is the worst too, man.
That's true as well. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Because there's the aspect of a tame woman that fucking is the worst. So yeah, lethality. Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
Do
I
it.
like it.
Be good at
Lethality and
something.
safety.
Yeah.
Oh, and there is an element of like, when my masculine partner, as a feminine creature, when my masculine partner is fucking lethal, like, that helps me feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my favorite lethality, like I feel like the most important lethality from the feminine perspective, is one that we don't see in men very often, but it's the lethality of being your own inner leader. The lethality of being able to identify what it is you need and to like get what you need. And to like set the boundaries you need to set to do that. Even if it's setting a boundary with me, like like that really helps the feminine feel safe, because they're like, okay, he's lethal in like being himself,
Yeah. Gotta be yourself. As good or weird as that is, it doesn't matter. You gotta be
That's the best thing you got.
Yeah, it is.
And it's enough.
All right, you ready for the last one?
Yeah.
Yay. And this is such an important one, especially today, because there's so much discontent and so much pent-up energy everywhere. And this final masculine oath is challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge, which is basically maintaining that penetrative force into the chaos of the world. Like, we need something to do.
Yeah. It reminds me of when I was talking with my masculine, and he was telling me, like, for the masculine, it just feels like there's a boulder that we have to push up a hill. And, like, if we don't have a boulder that we're pushing up a hill, like, we feel, like, worthless, or we feel like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
There is, like, this penetrative, like, move this to over there, like, kind of energy, this challenge that you need to, like, feel alive while you're here. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of so many instances of, you know, when masculine energy goes out in the world and does great things, like, what the fuck? Why does it do that? And for better or for worse, a lot of the times it's because we can, because it's like a fulfilling thing. We must do it. You know, why did we go to the fucking moon? It didn't help us. It didn't have like an apparent helpfulness. And when, you know, there was questions about, could we do it? It was a call to, of course we can do it. It's, do we want to do it? And if we do, then let's fucking do it. You know, that's the famous quote from Wernher von Braun when he was asked by JFK, what will it take to get to the moon? And he looked him in the eye and said, the will to do it. And that's that challenge of just like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And what that was like a masculine challenge for the nation. And fucking, you know, they call those the glory days or golden age or whatever the fuck. I guess it was the 60s, so it was a little weird too. But
Yeah.
you know, it was this great push where we made all these advancements in science and technology because we needed the challenge. Like, we had all this pent-up energy from the war, and we had all this pent-up energy from the space race, and then it was just like, now we're gonna fucking win this bitch. That's the challenge we take on.
Yep.
And, you know, there's many countries out there that do this. Americans kind of, we're always like, you know, yeah, we're like the world police. We're the ones who are going to take up all the challenges in the world, which is ridiculous. But it's that same kind of
It's like
masculine.
it turns into over-serving.
Yeah, it can also be, you know, on the opposite side of that. If we don't have a constructive way to do something, then, man, we just create literal challenges in our life. We sabotage our lives, or we get addicted to something, or we, you know, gamble away our money, or we fuck up our relationship just because. I mean, how much conflict between parts happens because there's just this like pent up energy to, I have nothing going on in my life, so why don't I fucking start a fight with you?
Wow. That's what it's like inside the masculine.
Yeah.
Damn. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, when there's no challenge, there's this like feeling of like loss or weakness.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times to face that challenge, you'll fucking show your strength by who knows what, getting in a bar fight or fucking stealing a car or
Damn. Does it exist where not only are you like don't have a challenge and so you have all that pent up energy stored in your body, but you're also like don't want to be harmful, and so you just dissociate from that stored up energy and you're just like impotent because of that.
Yes, that's when you don't live up to challenge, and there you lose your freedom. And I mean, that's because you can collapse all the oaths and just live in pure apathy, which is like the lowest form of energy we can live in, where we don't give a shit about anything.
Wow.
And that's when, you know, that's like rock bottom for most men.
So like what would you say to those men? Or like, where should they start?
Mm-hmm. Well, so this kind of gets into. So we talked about these oaths. Let's talk about the feminine. Before I answer that question, let's talk about the divine feminine oath that corresponds with this one, and that is intuition.
Ooh.
And what intuition is very similar to openness, but it's the not just receiving the universe, but receiving the knowledge and like wisdom from the universe. And being able to like incorporate that and put that to effect, you know?
Yep.
Because there's so many great men out there that in history that, everyone looks at and they're like, oh yeah, he just did that on his own. When wrong, most of those, if not all of them, had a strong feminine like force working with them.
Yeah, that's right.
And either, in a partnership, husband and wife, or in a literal partnership in business where, you have that masculine and feminine polarity, because that instinct a lot of the times can help guide the left brain logical thinking of the masculine that can get lost in the loop of possibilities. When do you take the risk? That has to come from intuition. And,
that's
there's
true, huh?
a lot of men who can reach into their more feminine creative side of their polarity too, to do that for themselves. But man, like there's a lot of the times having an actual true divine feminine presence to like help work through a problem.
Yeah.
Powerful.
But also the willingness to take her intuition and her oracle seriously instead of discredit it because it's not the logical masculine answer that you want.
Well, that's kind of the thing that I think is the biggest tragedy of modern polarity that I don't really see changing, is that yes, we have such a like left brain problem solving society that it just discounts the right brain more feminine side of things, and it's just like, well, you're not masculine, you must be, I don't know what you are,
inferior masculine.
Yeah, you just must be an inferior masculine. And that's like where so many women get just like stuck in this like brutal cycle of men just treating them like shitty men. Because that's part of the like accountability thing. Is like, if you're a shitty man and you don't live by the oaths, like there's nothing to connect there. There's no camaraderie. And it really does take the recognition of our differences to really allow us to work cohesively. It's funny, like a lot of books on masculinity that talk about how like women will always challenge a man, which is kind of a little bit of a crude way to put it, but like that is the challenge of meeting the feminine as what it is, instead of me trying to like parse it into something I can understand. It's almost a surrender to the feminine, to like let it in. You must also like engage that part of your own feminine within to really let it in. And it's challenging.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit kind of stereotypical to be like, oh yeah, women always challenge men to make sure they're being masculine. And it's like, perhaps. How often do you think about challenging me to make sure I'm in my masculine?
None of it is conscious.
Yeah.
Absolutely none of it is conscious. Like my parts are never like, oh, let's just see how much in his masculine he is. If your partner's doing that to you, like that's shitty. Like that's kind of abusive. So it's like, it's not really like that, but it's just like, oh, I see something. Oh man, I see something and he's not going to like it if I share what I see, but like it feels like it's a really important thing to share. So like if it feels like something that like he should know that will really help him if he's able to like listen to this. It's going to set him up a lot in the future. So I guess I'll have this hard conversation with him.
Yeah.
Like that's more of what it feels like for the feminine. Yeah.
And that's where relationships really take off, when you can have that conversation with your parts and then like express that with your partner and with their parts and have a meaningful conversation. I mean, that's where tough, meaningful conversations come around because, regardless of which pole it's coming from, like, it always is going to meet some resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. But just because that's just what our parts do when we're challenged or when we are being invited to change something or let go of something or admit we were wrong about something. It's just never fun at first. And
the powerful thing about parts, which the sacred masculine, kind of the second half of it, is using parts work. We still swear by parts work and use it all the fucking
Jesus
time.
Christ.
And so part of being able to really utilize these oaths is to have that strong relationship with your parts, because that's the aspect of surrender that a lot of times I'll be in a state where I'll have all of these parts objecting and complaining, and it's the truth of it comes through when I can ask myself, like, am I aligning with, is what, like, for instance, when you have a suggestion from you, when you're sharing your intuition, is this intuition more in alignment with my sacred masculine oaths than what I'm doing?
Oh, shit.
And
that's
like,
a good question.
There'll be parts like, nah, fuck it. Like, don't listen to her. And like, no, we need to, like, stay angry, and this is the injustice. And that voice will kind of come through and be like, sorry, guys. Like, this advice is better than what we're doing. And, you know, it's like, fuck. But eventually, like, they all kind of take a knee to it, or like, all right, let's fucking do it. Sometimes that can even be what springs forth a new challenge, where it's just like, you know what? You're fucking right.
That's been the case for us a couple times now. Yeah.
And, man, that's pretty much a podcast right there with...
Yeah, that's a goddamn podcast.
Yeah, so let's recap. So 5 sacred masculine oaths. Freedom, ba-bam.
Bam.
Service, ba-bam.
Comradery.
Lethality, and challenge. We need a challenge, baby.
Yeah.
And the divine feminine oaths. Surrender. Yeah, the service... Oh, receiving. Oh, yeah. Well, that's a big one. We got to get these memorized. Then equality.
Surrender, receiving, equality. Safety. And then intuition. Yeah.
So, ladies, when you're ever in a bind, ask yourself if you're jiving with all these things. And you might find you're not. And it might give you some clarity of, maybe there's a way I can change. Or maybe there's a thing I need to surrender deeper to. Or open wider to.
Yeah.
Or listen to your fucking intuition.
Yeah, listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
Comes from the inside.
There's how many relationships have you been in where you've known it was a turd relationship and you should leave and walk away, and you didn't?
Yup.
So, just saying.
You always know. This is,
I think, a fact of the inner world. You always do know. There's always the voice of truth in your head somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. When we are confused or stuck, it's not because we don't know. It's that our parts don't feel safe enough to know what we know yet. It's less about, like, trying to figure something out or trying to, like, you know, reach for the answer, and it's more about just helping yourself feel safe enough for it to be revealed, for you to access your clarity.
Yeah, it's when I work with men, a lot of the times they're like, I know I should be doing this, and I know I should be doing that, and yada yada, I know I shouldn't do that. And then usually a lot of the times it'll be like, all right, let's stop. Let's go over the things you know. This, and this, and you're not doing any of them. So why? Why are you not doing the things you know you need to do? Just, like, focus on that. And a lot of the times it's just this, like, fuck.
Yeah. That's
right.
That's the last place I wanted to look.
Yeah.
I wanted to try everything else.
Yeah.
That's usually also, by the way, when people say, oh, I've tried everything. It's like, You've tried everything except the most vulnerable thing.
Yeah. There's always a more vulnerable thing you can try.
Yeah.
Well, Jordin James, I feel complete.
Me too. Thank you for sharing all this wisdom with us. And there's going to be more to come on this because this is an ever unfolding thing.
Absolutely. I'm building a mastermind, a teaching mastermind, courses. Like, this is going to be a global phenomenon, everyone. And you heard it here first on The Heart is a Muscle. I almost said the heart is masculine. And we're going to blow this thing up, too. Wow, you're colonizing
the heart, too.
Typical masculine, just, it's what we do. But we're going to blow this thing sky high, too. So if you love The Heart is a Muscle and you learned some shit that has helped improve you and your life and your partner's life, then spread the love. Tell everyone.
And shoot us an email and let us know. We'd love hearing from you.
We have to do, I think we've been doing this long enough, and we have probably 14 people.
Yeah,
that's good enough for
14, maybe 15.
Maybe 15. We want to get a Q&A going. We need to put that out there.
And can ask us anything.
Dude, that would be really fun.
That'd be so fun.
So
yeah, if that's something that you want, email us and let us know.
And we'll start posting about that because that would be really fun to get your guys' feedback and make sure you're all alive out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a fun experiment. We'll try it again next time. I guess that's it, huh, Jordin?
Yeah. Love you, baby.
Love you too, baby. Aww. And we love all of you guys out there. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're going to go enjoy the sand now.
Yep. Eat dessert.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. We really enjoy creating this content for you, and we want to share some more resources so you can get even more content. So take it away, Jordin.
That's right. If you want to follow either one of us on socials, if you want to work with either one of us, if you want access to our YouTube channel, if you want to buy our book, links to all that stuff is on our Patreon. So that is patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. Now, you don't have to join Patreon to get access to those links.
But you probably should. The more that you support us and support this channel, the more that we can create this awesome content to help support you, because that's really why we do this. We want to make your guys' lives better, and your support really matters.
Yeah. And what you'll get when you join Patreon is a shout out in our next episode. And you will also get access to listener requests where you will get to request what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
So from the Heart is a Muscle podcast to you guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the feedback. We really, really enjoy it. And we'll talk to you all later.
Truly love you guys so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.